Hello everyone. Last week I asked people on my Instagram and my Facebook what sorts of things that you would like to see or learn about. And one of the things that stood out to me was just poses for flexibility. I love that someone asked that because so many people tell me, I would do yoga, but I'm not flexible enough. My answer is always the same. Yoga is for everyone. There's variations for every pose. So I picked 3 poses today that do emphasize flexibility, but also grounding and stability. Before we hop into those, you do need to do some sort of warm-up because if you just hop right into these poses, there could be risk of injury. Without warming up, you do run the risk of hurting yourself, and that's not what yoga is about. So today isn't a flow per se, but it is a practice. I personally am wanting to really open up my breath and my airways, and one essential oil that really encourages the opening of those airways is eucalyptus. So I'm going to take a few drops in my hand and then just rub it all over my chest and up towards my collarbones because I really want to feel open when I'm breathing. Eucalyptus is one of the more popular essential oils. If you buy, a 4-pack, it's usually in there with lavender, tea tree oil, and peppermint. Eucalyptus really encourages the opening of airways. I'm feeling really grateful for my breath lately. So I wanted to just give my airways and my breath a thank you and encourage them to open up more this morning. Okay, so to warm up briefly, I want to get our spines a little loose. I want to create space between vertebrae. So what we're going to do is we're going to sweep our feet under and come into our tabletop. And as I inhale in this pose, I am going to lift my gaze up into cow pose. And I'm going to go with the flow of my breath. So inhale, cow pose. And exhale into cat pose. Really focus on creating space between those shoulder blades. Nice deep inhale into cow pose. And exhale, go into that cat pose. Really focus on pushing and rounding that spine. Space between those shoulder blades. Coming back into a neutral tabletop spine, I just want to circle my trunk. Just gonna circle it clockwise a few times. And then circle the other way. Coming back into that neutral tabletop spine, I'm just gonna move my sides back and forth, really stretching those sides of my body. A lot of the time we don't think about these little areas, so it's nice to give them some love. I'm gonna widen my knees, touch my big toes together, and bow into child's pose. Rotating my wrists, waking those up. We're going to stretch our upper half a tiny bit more. I want everybody to take a deep inhale, raise that right arm, and then thread it on your exhale, and let your shoulder come to the ground. Hold this for about 2 breaths, maybe 3. Lift back up, breathe in, gaze up. And exhale back to neutral tabletop. We're going to do the same thing with our left arm. Inhale, left arm raises, follow with gaze. And exhale, thread that left arm through. Shoulder meets the earth. Audibly breathing is not frowned upon in yoga. You create space with your breath. Nice deep inhale. Lift that arm back up. And exhale. Back to tabletop. I'm going to bow down into my child's pose one more time. Really stretch that back. All right. So now we are going to briefly warm up our bottom half for our poses ahead. So we are just going to do the variation of pigeon pose that requires just lying on our backs. We don't want to go into full pigeon because we're definitely not warmed up for that. This variation of pigeon is gentle. It will be a great stretch for what we have prepared later in this video. On your back, first I'm going to take my right leg and make a figure 4 with my left leg. After this, I want to make sure that my feet are flexed. And now I'm going to raise that left foot flexed on my left foot, take my arms, thread my right hand through my legs, meets the outside hand, lace these fingers. You should feel a nice stretch in your right glute and that hip. With every inhale, create space, and then exhale, try and go a little bit deeper into that stretch. Don't push yourself. After you think you've gone as far as you can, just hold this for 2 or 3 breaths. This pose is for you. Everything in yoga is for you. I'm going to release my hands, lower that left foot, take my right foot, place it back on the earth, and I'm going to let my legs fall for a moment, give them a little shake. All right, back up. Let's take our left foot, figure 4 on our right knee, making sure our foot is flexed, lifting that right foot through. Make sure that your shoulders aren't tensing up by your neck. It's really easy to try and get a good stretch in and really tense up those shoulders. We want to avoid that. You can still get a good stretch and not tense up your neck or your shoulders. Releasing those hands. Right foot meets the earth, followed by the left. Straightening those legs. I'm gonna shake them out a little bit. All right, you should feel nice and loose after those warm-ups. If you need a little bit more, go for it. Whatever you feel like needs to be stretched, please stretch it. These poses, however, will give you a good stretch, so no fear. The first pose I wanted to share was seated spinal twist. My knees right now, since my hips are very tight, they are above my sit bones. Because of that, I'm going to grab a prop. You can use pillows stacked on each other, blankets, whatever works for you. If you do have a yoga block, go ahead and grab that. So you never want your knees above your sit bones, especially when you're going through different poses. So to start with seated spinal twist, I'm going to move to my side so you can get a side view and get a better understanding. To begin, start with your left foot in front of your right foot. Stand it up with your left foot and toes facing forward. We're going to take that right foot and sweep it under, trying to get it as close as to our left sit bone as we can. And now we're going to take our left leg and put it over our right knee. All right, right now you should feel a stretch right here in your left glute and a little bit of your left hamstring and even deep in that hip area. Making sure that your left toes are facing forward and your toes are lined up with your right toes. For some people, this stretch is completely enough. I want you to take your hands, place them and press them against your shin and press your shin into those hands. This creates a lot of energy. It will allow you to press your shoulders down away from that neck and create space between vertebrae. If you would like the stretch to go deeper, you can take that left hand, place it behind your sit bones with your fingers facing backward, and take that right hand, elbow to knee, and twist, making sure that your shoulders are down. Seated spinal twist. Make sure that your vertebrae are as straight as they can be. With every breath, try and create a more straight of a line and space between your vertebrae. If you want something a little bit more challenging, you can take that left elbow, place it against that right knee, and have your palm and forearm facing up. Make sure your fingers are towards the sky. This pose can be intense for a lot of people, but it really is a good stretch, especially in those hips right there. And you should feel it in your spine. I'm going to untwist now. Help my leg come out. Bring my foot out. All right, let's do the other side. All right, I'm on my block again. My back is nice and straight. My right foot is in front this time. I'm going to stand it up in front of my right sit bone, knee and right foot facing forward. I'm going to take that left foot and sweep it to my right sit bone. Now I will take my right foot and put it over my left knee. Really focus on that front right foot, toes facing forward. Take your hands, intertwine your fingers, press them into your right shin and press that right shin into your hands. Create that energy. Remember, every inhale, you're creating space between those vertebrae and space between your shoulders and your ears. If you want a deeper stretch, no problem. Take that right hand, put it behind your sit bone, making sure your fingers are facing backward. Take that left elbow and hand, left elbow here. Right hand follows on the quad and reaches towards that glute. Make sure that your gaze follows in the way that you are twisting. Someone with really tight hips like myself, this might be a perfect stretch for you. You don't want to go anymore. Someone who wants a little bit more of a challenge, you can always raise that hand and stretch more. Make sure that spine is as straight as possible. I'm going to untwist myself. I'm going to straighten my legs and give them a good shake. Hear any snaps or pops? It's all right. That, my friends, is seated spinal twist. A lot of components to it. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. It's a lot to take in and I went over it pretty briskly, but I wanted to be able to go through 3 poses for y'all. If people are wanting to learn more about how deep the poses can really be as far as what chakras are activated, what systems in the body are balanced because of the pose, would love to talk about that as well. The second pose I wanted to share is frog pose. This is going to be a laying down position, but it's actually going to be on our front sides. So we're going to start in a tabletop. A nice prop to have is a bolster or even a body pillow or just 2 regular pillows stacked on top of one another and placed underneath your tabletop here. There's no judgment, so if you believe that you want a more restorative pose for your frog pose, that's not a big deal at all. How we're going to start is we're going to lower our elbows beneath our shoulders. Draw those shoulders away from your neck and your ears. Now we're going to begin walking our knees outward, opening up our hips. If your knees are sensitive, you can grab a blanket and place it under both of your knees if you're about to spread on a harder surface than your mat. While you step your knees away from one another, lower your torso. Align them at a 90-degree angle. This is where that bolster or those body pillows or regular pillows will come in handy, as this is a very intense stretch if you do not have any support beneath. I grabbed a pillow because I wanted this to be a more restorative stretch, but if you are willing and feeling very loose this morning, go ahead and just do this without a bolster. But now we're going to make our arms 90-degree angles along with our legs. And you have your frog pose. This is full frog. If this is too much, you can do a half frog. One leg can be nice and straight. Other leg can be at that 90-degree angle, and you can just lay here for a few breaths. Always make sure to do both sides when you are practicing your poses. So I'm going to push myself up, start moving that right leg out, sliding into my other side, and just rest. Again, this stretch is pretty intense, so please go at it with caution. You move slowly into your elbows. Then you start moving your knees out, also moving your arms into 90-degree angles, and you can do full frog. Place blankets or anything under your knees for more support if this really hurts your knees. Pushing myself up. And that is frog pose. Any questions about frog pose, please ask me. I don't want anybody trying these poses and thinking, am I doing this right? And then hurting yourself. That's the last thing I want. The last pose I wanted to share is also one that we are going to do laying down. So this pose is called bow pose. There are a few variations, so do what is most comfortable. I'm going to start with my right side. So I'm going to take my left arm and make it parallel to the front of my mat. Right arm down by my side. I'm going to use my left arm as a pillow. I'm going to take my left forearm and really push it into the earth to stabilize myself as I reach for my right ankle. And if I feel inclined to do so, I'm going to lift my right thigh off the ground. Really create that energy between your right hand and your right ankle. Practice this for about 2 or 3 breaths and do the other side. Someone decided to make a cameo. This is my dog, George. He's very nosy, so that's why he's over here. Go! We will be doing half bow on our left side now. Same concept. Take your right forearm, make it parallel with the front of your mat, making sure to always balance ourselves, and we're doing bow on the left side of our body. Well, half bow, actually. Left hand by your side. We're going to push on our right forearm and then reach on the outside of our left ankle. This might be enough for some people, and that's fine. Make sure your foot is always flexed. Going into actual half bow, raise that quad off the ground. As you can tell, this is as far as I can go, and you know what? That's okay. I'm going to stay here for 2 or 3 breaths. When you're practicing bow, make sure your gaze is towards the horizon. Releasing down. If you want to try full on bow, you are going to start with both hands out at your side, and then when you take a nice deep inhale, create that space, and then exhale up raising both your quads off the ground, and you should feel a really deep stretch in your quads along with your back. So let's give it a whirl. If you need to, you can grab your shins, adjust as you need to. Even I still forget to flex my feet sometimes, that's okay. Try and get those shoulders away from your neck and breathe. Slowly lowering down. Just going to rest for a moment. So those are 3 poses I wanted to show you guys. So thank you for watching. My next video is going to be me being interviewed for one of my very old friends from my hometown on her podcast. It's the Allie McGee podcast. After that, I'm just gonna go through the list of what people were wanting to see from me. If you wanna see something else that you think maybe no one has asked, go ahead and comment. And if you would, subscribe if you wanna know more about yoga, flows, breathing exercises, you name it, I'm here. So thank you for watching. The light in me honors all of the light in every single one of you. Namaste.